Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of The Lions Grid. I'm Kevin Marhine, joined as always by Mr. Jeffrey Raymond. Jeffrey, how are you doing on this Tuesday evening?
I am freezing my ass off. Very cold. It's very cold around here.
It's a little chilly.
Yeah.
Chilly. I'm currently sitting at 11 degrees freedom units. Where are you at?
Yeah, we're at 12 right now, so we're right there. Plus the wind, man. The wind makes it worse. So much.
Oh yeah.
And we're pretty gusty down here in southern Michigan.
For sure. And I know I just had Azula out before this, and she was just out there rolling around. It's like some of us don't have fur, man. This is not fun for everybody out here.
My neighbors have two huskies. One of the big boys, big Siberian husky, and they're having a blast outside right now. This is like their weather.
They're living their best life. Well, it's funny that the dogs are kind of like the teams that won here in Wild Card Weekend. Living their best lives, while the losers are more like us, Jeffrey, just out there freezing and not having a very good time.
That's right. But not a lot of competitive games in this slate. There was only one that kind of had you at the edge of your seat a little bit, but the rest of them teams handled business.
They most certainly did. And I know there is quite a bit of parity in the NFL, and from week to week, anything can happen. But I do think this game or sort of this slate of wildcard games is definitely evidence one could present in the case against expanding the NFL playoffs, Jeffrey, because it definitely feels pretty top heavy at this point. The teams that are the division winners, that are those 1 through 4 seeds, they do tend to be pretty spicy. Even maybe the 5th seed wild card team, that team that came in second place, they add in the Commanders' case, they added a little bit of zest, but overall, it seems like if you just added more teams and there would just be more chaff to get through.
Yeah, I think you're right. That is the biggest knock against kind of getting the expansion of the playoffs, because you have kind of teams who are like backing their way in and they probably shouldn't be there, kind of thing, just kind of sneaking in. But yeah, I think how many years has this been with the expansion? This is the 3rd year now with this? The 3rd or the...
So, yeah. Let's see. What year did the NFL expand?
Yeah, and then I guess what would be... Is there a...
2021.
Okay, so yeah, 2021. So who was the lowest seed to ever win? It's been the Chiefs twice in a row, and they're going for the three-peat. So
whatever the lowest seed the Chiefs have had going into the playoffs, that is your lowest seed, I suppose.
Yeah, but I'm also for more football, just in general, just as a fan, right? I like to see teams in the dance like this. Wish there was a way we could kind of make it so maybe like a division winning the division is one thing, but like some of these tiebreakers are making it so some teams back in, like. But then again, too, like some of these divisions, if you won in like a crap heap division, like what does that really say about you? But I think we should. I kind of was doing some reading on like social media this morning, and people talking about like, what if we get rid of like divisions and do like a conference record or conference winning percentage or something like that. But I don't know if I would like getting rid of divisions. I do like having kind of that drama built into like the end of the season, especially.
Yeah, and definitely there's that those rivalries that go back. I mean, obviously they have changed the divisions over time, but the Packers, the Vikings, the Bears, the Lions, not getting to see those guys 2 times a year. I enjoy those games. So not getting to see them would be
also in their current iteration. I'll play any 3 of those.
We will take all comers here, Jeffrey. It was funny. I was going to do a roaring or boring question for you heading into the playoffs about if you thought the NFC North would have more playoff wins than they had teams make the playoffs. And at this point in time, the Lions are the hope of the NFC North, because it's bleak.
Yeah, I think I would have been more confident. I was way more confident than what I saw out of both the NFC North teams, really, across the board, but like especially with I think to me the NFC North loss that surprised me the most, I guess, was the one that happened last night with the Vikings going down to the Rams. But yeah, definitely the chaff, as it were, is gone, and we're still up there as Kings.
Absolutely. Well, let's jump in here a little bit, Jeffrey, and talk about these wild card games. We'll start as they did with the Chargers and the Texans. And Jeffrey, this might have been to me maybe the most surprising outcome from wild card weekend, because I think you and I both felt that Houston was kind of set up to be old Yellard in this game, and they came out here and they took care of business against the Chargers.
Yeah, they did. I did. The Chargers kind of just ran up against a wall here of one, Justin Herbert did not have a good game. He threw 4 picks. I will say a couple of those are due to receivers, and he only has really one receiver operating out there, Lad McConkey. He is their entire offense when their run game can't get going. So but I expected, I guess, by this time their run game and just in general with the way they've been playing, they'd be able to handle Houston, who to me is felt like a paper tiger this entire season.
Especially with Greg Roman as their offensive coordinator. You know, he's a guy who has the sort of the notoriety or the perception to be a run first kind of offensive coordinator, a guru of the ground game. And it wasn't looking good, Jeffrey. So
yeah, I think like I said, I think their biggest need is not that Lad McConkey's not there about there being an alpha dog as he is, but he's an awesome rack guy. Like they need and he's also only 6 foot. They need I guess what they lost with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, somebody who's the alpha and the star receiver there, or at least a better receiving core, because what they've got going is not good.
Yeah, they need that big play guy, right? Like Lad McConkey, you can, just like Novocaine, over time he's going to overpower, but you need that one guy when they get bored, the defense, they lose track of him and they hit that big play, and that just, it generates a spark. Because
Quentin Johnson can get there, he just can't catch the ball when the ball gets there. It's been the problem. He has had a better season this year, but he had a bad game this game. No catches, several targets, one really bad drop. Well, several really bad drops, really. But yeah, they need help on that end.
And it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, the Houston's defense was, I think, the star of the show in this game for them. They did a great job of shutting down the Chargers offense. And put them in position to get the win here. It's going to be interesting to see, Jeffrey, if they continue to lead the way for this team, or if CJ Stroud can step it up here and have a little bit more of an impact. But of course, they will be going to play Kansas City in the divisional round, so tough test there.
But the Chiefs have been they've been winning all kinds of nuts games where they barely looked good. So I don't know. I think Houston will finally get exposed here this next weekend. But what do you think? Do you think the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes having 21 days of rest or something like that? It was over 30 days of rest now, right?
Yeah, he hasn't thrown a pass since Christmas, I believe.
Since Christmas. Okay, yeah. So do you think they come out looking a lot better and just I guess handling business in the way we have come to know them the past couple of years compared to this year, which it's been a knock them out, drag them out kind of affair every single time?
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. The fact that it was the Texans defense that played so well here, I think definitely gives them a chance because we haven't seen a lot of great things out of the Chiefs offense. But also at the same time, I know forcing CJ Stroud into making mistakes and creating turnovers based off of that also can be a good recipe for taking down the Texans. So the Chiefs defense has definitely been leading the way for that team this year. And, going up against a quarterback who is not having the best season with an offensive line that has definitely been struggling. I think it's going to be tough, especially going into Arrowhead. It's definitely one of the toughest places to play in the NFL. So, definitely. We'll talk about that. The games at some other point, the future ones, but certainly feeling that the Chiefs got to be the favorite there against the Texans. I bet no surprise. I mean, they're going for potentially their third Super Bowl, and the Texans are, as we said, sort of backed into the playoffs.
Yeah, and CJ Stroud has not looked good this year. Nothing, I guess, from what I've seen this year shows me that he's going to come in and start like playing like he was last year. So, I mean, Joe Mixon, obviously, he's been a big boon to them just on the offensive side of the ball, just getting things going. They were supposed to have the combo of Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs, but it's been pretty much just Nico Collins. He was hurt in the beginning of the year too. Can they do something? I think CJ Stroud had to play the best game of his season in this game to win this game.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And certainly they are a team that is feeling the impacts of injury. I did see they released Deontay Johnson, so if they do somehow go on a run to a Super Bowl, he will not be getting the ring.
Wide receiver is a big need for him too, so you know how bad that guy is.
Yeah.
This is his fourth team this year.
It's impressive. He's getting
season, man. That's crazy.
I think it's crazy that people keep bringing him into the team. Like someone expects, like, oh, it's okay. He's not a problem. We'll get it figured out. Like we'll be the team to make it happen. But
Mike Tomlin held the lid on this crazy wide receiver for a little bit longer than these guys. As soon as he went out to the other league, you can't contain him.
Well, we'll talk about Mike Tomlin here in just a second, but I want to say hey to Cody, catching up with Cody here. Let's go Lions. Appreciate you stopping by.
Welcome, Cody.
Yeah. All right, Jeffrey. Let's talk about Mike Tomlin and those Steelers. Of course, they were playing a very familiar foe in the Baltimore Ravens, but Baltimore ultimately getting the 28-14 victory here. And, Jeffrey, despite another winning season for Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, the playoff drought continues. 0-6 now, Jeffrey, in the last 6 years.
Yeah, he can't give you a non-winning season, right? But he, like, with the way the nature of the playoffs working, I mean, he kind of is here at the end. I mean, obviously with Pittsburgh, they had a great run this year for a while, but they went on a huge losing streak at the end of the game here. They're 10-7, 2 games away from just being like even out of the bubble kind of thing. So teams are backing in here. I think I think the score is not telling with how badly they got annihilated, to be honest with you, as far as how well the Ravens played, how they handled them. Najee Harris had 6 carries for 17 yards as a leading receiver. Come on now. It's just nuts. It's just nuts. But on the other side with the Ravens, they're looking good. And Lamar had a good playoff game here, something that the allegations are out there that he's not a playoff kind of guy. He's bucked them.
Yeah, Jeffrey, do you think here that this loss will finally lead to there being some major changes in the Pittsburgh organization? I don't know if they go quite as far to move on from Mike Tomlin, because I mean, he is one of the best coaches in the NFL. Like, I don't know how you can, obviously you're not happy necessarily with the outcome of these seasons, but he is one of the best. Do you think maybe you maybe make some changes at the coordinator position, or try and bring in and infuse some new blood to the Steelers organization to try and get over the hump?
It's always an interesting thing. Do you have empirical success, right? You have winning seasons, mostly make the playoffs, right? But by the time you get to the playoffs with the Steelers, I guess for these past 6 years, it's mostly been like, yeah, they're there, but they're about to get bounced, which they did, right? Like, so you're like scraping the barrel of the playoffs. Now, getting to the dance is not every team that can do, and having that kind of long-term success like he has is super rare, right? Like, no coach does that, and no coach can keep lid on diva receivers quite like Mike Tomlin can for some reason. But I don't know, just given their organization and them trusting coaches. I mean, right before him was Bill Cowher, right? For several years, and the success was there too, and they kind of stuck with him. So, I think they're still selling out tickets. I think the ownership is going to be fine with it with the way it goes, as long as they don't suck, which they don't suck, but they don't not suck.
Yeah, I think Detroit Fan Man puts it here kind of beautifully, watching them sort of bleed out like the end of the Wings playoff streak
Yeah,
era.
yeah,
Teams that they're not bad, but they're also not good enough to compete with the Ravens and the Bills and the Chiefs. I mean, they may be able to do it for a game, but in these moments when it counts at the end of the season, where it's lose or go home, it's definitely one of those things where the cream rises to the top here, and they seem to be coming up short.
yeah, and their offense has been, to your point about maybe a coordinator change. I could definitely see that for sure. They're not a team that typically goes after like big free agency names or big trades at all.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if some of that kind of stuff comes bubbling up as far as like rumors and stuff of that wanting to change, because Kenny Pickens had not Kenny Pickens, George Pickett. George Pickett had some interesting comments, as he typically does in the media, and he's like, "Yeah, I think we've grown, as a team over the past 6 years." And then he's like, and then they asked him, he was like, "Do you think the offense is going to be any better?" He's like, "Nah." I mean, sometimes sometimes those kind of people call it like it is sometimes, and
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I did see an odds thing out there that the Steelers are the team with the highest odds to land Aaron Rodgers in the offseason.
Oh my god!
So I mean, maybe that's what they need to get
That would
things
be
figured out.
That would be interesting. That would be really interesting. How would Mike Tomlin handle Aaron Rodgers? I mean, by all accounts, probably well, right? I mean, look at the people who leave the organization and they turn out to be nuts and can't even stay on teams for more than like a week.
But yeah, Jeffrey, I think on the Ravens side of things, it is going to be interesting. Now, I think a lot of people are feeling like maybe Lamar Jackson, who does have there's some questions about his play in the playoffs and whether he can, come through in the big moments. Obviously, getting the win here on Wild Card Weekend, but Jeffrey, it is against a familiar opponent. So while the Ravens did stand on business, he did look sharp in this game. Is there part of you that's concerned, Jeffrey, that maybe it's just this opponent again, maybe in a spot where they're, of course, next week they're going up against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills? Do you think maybe against a better caliber of opponent, maybe it doesn't look as good for Lamar?
Because the Steelers defense is pretty good, but they did not play as well as they could have in this game. And TJ Watt was all but stuffed out of even the stat sheet with how well they schemed up against him. So I think he's, as far as familiarity, I am with you that, right, you've seen this defense two times now, 3 times, right? So you have that familiarity with. But on the other hand, I think they are able to do this to other teams. What I do find interesting, and what I do think is going to be key, is if can Derrick Henry keep this kind of production up against.
I like how you mentioned production, and he just goes off for the touchdown right there.
I know, right there, yes.
Perfect timed.
Yeah, which that's nightmare fuel, man. That guy's running so fast, and he's that big. Like, who's tackling that dude? You need like 2 people to tackle that dude, and if he's out in the secondary, it's already gone. But that's besides the point. They're going up against the Bills. They're going to either have to score way more than 28 points, I feel, right? Because I think there's going to be a lot more offensive capability on the other side for their opponent here. So I think playing against the familiars there, but I just think that the Ravens outplayed them all 3 games. So
that's fair. That's fair, Jeffrey. Well, let's take a look at, we talked about the Bills. Let's take a look at that last game between the AFC side of the bracket. And again, Jeffrey, it was another game where one team took care of business and the other team, struggled.
Yeah.
But is it an overreaction here, Jeffrey, to say that this version of Josh Allen we've seen during the 2024 season is the best version of Josh Allen we've seen throughout his career?
I think he's playing some of the best football that he's played. Right, just with what he's able to do with, like, as far as like his cast is different on the receiving side this year again. Right, they're I think he does have some help though with the running game being actually good, and Jared Cook actually developing into an actually pretty good running back here. I think that helps out a lot just with the offense and what he's able to do, what opens up for him, kind of thing. But yeah, if you're 13-4 and you've wrapped up your division like in October,
Mhm.
I think definitely, yeah, he's playing the best football he has.
And do you think, Jeffrey, that the winner of this upcoming Baltimore Ravens Buffalo Bills showdown, do you think the quarterback of the respective team that gets the victory, that either being Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, do you think they become the lock for the MVP award?
Ooh, I think the voting's already over, right? Though, so like they've already made their
I,
decision. They just haven't
I
announced it
believe
yet.
so. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I guess for me, yeah, I mean, these are the two guys who I'd put up there as my 1 and 2, right? So for me personally, on my personal MVP lock, I think whoever plays the best, I think it comes down to this, right? A head-to-head matchup. Let's see it, kind of thing. But as far as I think they would give it to, I think Josh Allen won it just with the record disparity.
Hmm. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. And then, Jeffrey, which one of the two teams, either the Buffalo Bills or the Baltimore Ravens, do you think has the best shot of taking on who we assume? I think it's safe to say we're both assuming that the Chiefs are going to get the win against the Texans. It would be an upset should Houston get the win in Arrowhead over the Chiefs. Which one of these two teams, Buffalo or Baltimore, do you think has the best shot of ending the dynasty's attempt for a three-peat?
Buffalo, because I've seen it before my eyes, and I've not seen any other team break up this voodoo magic that's going on here. So uh, definitely Buffalo.
That's fair. Go with what your eyes have
Yes,
seen. You know it exists. You can
yes,
trust it a little better. I'm there with you.
yeah,
Uh, it's gonna be interesting, man. It's gonna be
yeah.
interesting.
But on the other side, I mean, no one thought Denver would be here this year, right? I think with them having to offload the contract and being of Russell Wilson and kind of not having any draft capital because of that Russell Wilson trade, I think a lot of people expected Sean Payton to have a couple of years to having to rebuild this team, but they found themselves a quarterback right away, and they are kind of scratching that playoff spot. But I think, right, you kind of have to be good in that division because you've got LA to deal with the Chargers. You've got the Chiefs. You don't have to deal with Vegas. They're the Raiders. You probably are good. So you're basically playing for wild card spots at all times. So good on
That's
them.
true. But if Ben Johnson should head out to Las Vegas and take over the head coaching spot, or I know I've also heard that Tom Brady has talked to one Mr. Bill Belichick about the head coaching
Oh,
opening
yeah.
with his Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, it's going to be interesting because I think the AFC West is a division similar to the NFC North, where there are good teams from top to bottom, and even that bottom team, even though they suck right now, if the right coach gets in there, maybe they get a couple more pieces. Like, it isn't crazy, at least on paper, for those bottom teams, the Raiders and the Bears, to be on the edge there, right? Like they're teetering. So, I think Dan Campbell said it best last season after we lost to San Francisco, Jeffrey, that it's hard to get back to this point. Like, it
Mhm.
was hard to achieve this. It's even harder to come out and do it again next season. And so, definitely, I think the Broncos had a great season. It's going to be interesting to see after everything shakes out, how can they get back to this and can they improve upon it, right? That's not an getting back isn't going to be an easy task, but improving upon it is going to be uh, it's going to be tough. Going to be tough. And got some comments to catch up on here. We had John Blackman Jr., James Cook. Jeffrey, you mentioned him in this game. He has certainly been a weapon for the Bills at times. And I know as a fantasy football owner, I was definitely happy with his production throughout the season.
Yeah, he had a solid season, and for a while there it was like, okay, he's the less talented Cook brother of Dalvin and James Cook, but when Dalvin kind of fell off, that's about when Jared Cook started to start his ascend. So maybe they just traded knees or something. I don't know.
Hard to say. And then Jarrell Ross here, a Broncos fan here. I know we lost to the Bills 2 days ago. Plus, we released 4 players from our squad. It's interesting times, right? Like things are changing. I think unfortunately it's that time of the season, right, where the outcomes of the game are going to be disappointing for half the fan base, right? Like it's one and done at this point. It is now it's 3 weeks of one game football seasons. You win or you go home, and when you go home, it starts. You know that it's going to be something where not everyone is coming back. So each team each year, I mean, it's great when you do have teams and organizations that can build a solid base and you can keep consistency from year to year. But regardless of the team, all 32 teams are going to have turnover between the teams that were on the field for their last game of the season to the team that we'll see that first week in week 1 of the 2025 season, Jeffrey. So, I mean, it's at this point, I've gotten kind of numb to the levels of change that we see in the NFL. I'm just like, we just take it as it comes.
Yeah, because we of all the years we've been bad, I mean, we just have pretty much looked at we've already gone on the draft season at this point. I mean, obviously, I'm watching football still, paying attention to who's winning because I like football and all that kind of stuff. But as far as with the lines, it's like, all right, who are my big boards? What's Mel Kiper saying? Well, maybe not what Mel Kiper's saying, but what are these big boards saying? Who are the Lions picking? But now it's like, all right, let's do something different.
I'm still focused on the here and now, baby. It's lovely. Yeah. It's lovely. Moving over to the NFC side of the playoff bracket, Jeffrey, we had the first of the NFC North teams in action. They headed out to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles, and the Eagles took it to them 22-10, Jeffrey, the final score here. Were you surprised that the Packers came out here and pretty much got punched in the mouth from the start of the game?
I thought it'd be more competitive, but it actually doesn't surprise me because they've been kind of erratic as far as what kind of team shows up, especially with Jordan Love this year. He did not have a good game this year, and I think they were trying real hard to get Josh Jacobs going, but it just he at some point you got to have your quarterback make plays, and he wasn't able to do that. So I guess it doesn't surprise me because I thought they were a bit fraudulent as far as one of the top teams in the NFC. But I mean, on the other side, you have Dallas Goedert basically stiff arming that guy for 50 yards. We'll call he's trying to score a touchdown. The Eagles defense is for real, and they scare me as far as a team to play against, looking a bit ahead of possible post Washington matches up for the Lions.
Now, Jeffrey, what are your thoughts about Jordan Love and the Toyotathon conspiracy?
What is this?
You haven't seen. Okay, so Jordan Love historically during Toyotathon is a Hall of Fame quarterback. So
does he? Okay.
For example, the last 5 games of this season when it was Toyotathon, he was 79 of 115 for 1,133 yards, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 119.95 passer rating. And then, of course, Toyotathon ends. We enter into the playoffs, and he gives us this performance where he channels his inner choose quarterback who struggles in playoffs. So I mean, it's crazy. He has again Hall of Fame numbers during the Toyotathon season.
Did this happen last year too?
It has happened every year. He's been the starting quarterback. Jeffrey.
The man likes himself a deal on a Toyota, apparently.
He just something about it infuses him with great power.
Does Toyota sponsor him? I would be like
they have, yeah. Okay. Here I have even better for you, and let's see. Let's replace the screen share. Let's bring it up here. The Toyotathon numbers. Boom, you can see here. This is his career numbers during Toyotathon. Look at those differences there. The touchdowns, the interceptions, crazy.
Dang.
Becomes just a completely different guy.
Oh my God! Too bad Toyotathon only comes once a year, man.
It
Shame,
is
really.
It is a shame.
That's nuts. That's nuts. I don't even know what to say about that. That's just, the earth is flat, I guess. I don't know. I mean, come on. But,
it is just a crazy world, Jeffrey. Just a crazy world. But
they had a lot of injury. The Packers had a lot of injuries kind of coming out of this game. I think, speaking of the way Detroit Fan Man talked about the Steelers kind of bleeding towards the end, the Packers were definitely bleeding. Their best receivers out. They already had another receiver out, and at some point too, I was kind of giving it to Jordan Love, but at some point you're going to run out of bodies just on talent wise for some of these offensive weapons in those positions.
Yeah, and I know the Lions are no stranger to injuries this season, but the nice thing has been, for the most part, we've always had bodies in the game. Like we've had to go and during the week figure out how we're going to make up for the guys that have got injured. But usually in the game, we still had enough people out there to get the job done. Whereas, for the Packers here, they did lose Jalen Reed and they lost Romeo Dobbs. And as you mentioned, they already had lost Christian, I can't remember, his Watkins, whatever his last name is. They lost him too. So before the game, so they were hurting. They also lost one of their offensive linemen, and they really struggled against the pass rush from the Eagles throughout the game. So yeah, it was. For the Eagles, they were doing it in pretty much every phase of the game: offense, defense, special teams, getting things done. So cruise to a victory for them, and their reward, Jeffrey, for getting this victory over the Packers is a Sunday showdown with the Los Angeles Rams and Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good matchup. The Rams kind of coming out of nowhere, right? They were, in the beginning, by the trade deadline, even they were considering doing some selling, but they did not, and they're here with a playoff win under their belt. So I'm what I really want to see is when it comes time for Jalen Hurts to have to make a play, it comes down to quarterback play, because I feel like all year there's just been something off about the passing game with AJ Brown and him, and just sometimes just not being there, just really just relying on Saquon Barkley, right? What if they play us? What if they play like another top tier run defense where they just get shut down? Can Jalen Hurts play? He was only up 13 for 21 in this game for 131 yards. So AJ Brown did not have a big game. He was on the sideline reading a book. They caught him on camera. I don't know. Did you see that? He was just reading a book. Their defense though is for real. And that's definitely going to keep them in games.
Absolutely. If we take a look here then, Jeffrey, our opponents, of course, on Saturday is going to be the Washington Commanders, who were able to get the 23-20 victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Only competitive game that we had.
It was the only competitive game, and it was the only game where the away team got the victory, Jeffrey.
Yeah, and I thought this was a really good game. We got to see Mike Evans on Marshawn Lattimore on Mike Evans with their history. I was expecting a good game, and they played really well.
They did not disappoint there.
Yeah, it was an awesome battle to watch. But yeah, the away team coming in, taking it to what I thought's a pretty good team with Tampa Bay, right? Because we lost them earlier in the year. I was kind of worried about playing them just in general. But they got this young team in. Jaden Daniels, he's he 268 yards, 24 for 35, 2 touchdowns. Terry McLaurin's first playoff win ever. So it's good stuff for him.
Yeah, they. I wanted to get your see where you are on your spook meter, Jeffrey, because I know you were there's some of those matchups out there that had you a little concerned.
Mhm.
The Buffalo Bills being a team that you felt was spooky just with their sort of franchise's history.
Yeah,
But now
miss
we
me
know
with
we
that.
get the Commanders, Jeffrey, and of course the last time we saw the Commanders in the playoffs, they were known by a different name.
Mhm.
But they are the team that ended prior to the Lions getting the win last year in the playoffs. They were the team that started the playoff drought for us, Jeffrey.
Uh-oh.
They
I
uh,
think,
they they beat
yeah.
us 41-10.
Oh, jeez.
30 was that it was 1992, so that was what, 32 years ago they beat us and started the 11,689 day streak
Oh, you didn't have to
that
go down to
existed
the day.
between
You didn't have
playoff
to go down to the
victories.
day. Give me
uh,
the
so Jeffrey, I know you found the, but how are you feeling about this matchup with the Commanders?
not
Is the
spooked at
spook
all.
factor there?
Nope. Zero spook factor.
Zero spook
Zero
factor.
spook factor
Okay.
here. Based on all of the past that we are just blowing the doors off of the 1992 last playoff loss that caused the drought, doesn't scare me, doesn't get me excited, doesn't get me out of bed. I think they had a great story here, but I think they're going to run into a much better team than us, and we're going to crush them.
I like that optimism, Jeffrey. I like it a lot. I know a lot of people were happy that we're getting the draw of the rookie quarterback, and that seeming to be the best possible outcome for the Lions. And definitely, I mean, spoilers for when we eventually do pick them in the pregame episode, but I do think the Lions will get the win. But I do recognize that this could be a closer game than people think. I don't expect us to come out here and dunk on them like we did the Titans or some of the other teams that we hung 40 and 50 burgers on. But at the same time, I do expect us to be able to take care of business against them. But certainly a little concerned given the performance of Jaden Daniels. Like everyone's pointing out, yeah, he's a rookie quarterback, but he's not really playing like a rookie quarterback. There's only been prior to him getting this win on the road in the playoffs, there were only 4 rookie quarterbacks to ever do that. Now he's the 5th. So, historically, rookie quarterbacks in the playoffs are supposed to be a disadvantage, and that's not this guy's MO, Jeffrey. So I think again, I like the Lions to get the win against the Commanders, but certainly recognize that I don't think it'll be as easy as hoped. Their defense too. I mean, their offense gets talked about quite a bit, but their defense improved quite a bit from where they were last year. I will say one of the things that has me that has me excited, even though he just kicked a 52-yard field goal there. You can tell, especially when Zane Gonzalez came out there for the game-winning field goal, and he stoinked it off the thing. Even though it was good, you could tell that man was nervous. And I like the fact
You
that
saw
we
that.
have Jake Bates that's going to be over there just rolling around on a softball, just ready to win
Oh
the
man,
game,
yeah,
compared to Zane Gonzalez, who's all up in his head, man.
oh
All
dude.
up in his head.
We have the sexiest quarterback in the league. It's not even close. He's shaking in his boots right now.
Living in his
Yeah,
head.
that kick was amazing. What did Collinsworth call it? The division doink?
The division doink, yep.
The division doink. And he always gets those too. Like how is the man that sounds like the thousand goats? How is he how is he there for all of the doinking?
He's just a magnet, man. Just a magnet. But it's going to be interesting to see. I'm excited to see the sort of the game plan that Aaron Glenn comes up with to deal with them, because I know we saw the Tampa Bay take a number of different approaches throughout this game. At one point, they were running the double spy, and nobody was a fan of the double spy. But I mean, he breaks down defenses. If you're not getting to him and you have great coverage, he's just going to take off and run. So I get it.
That is the most
problem.
Concerning part, because with the kind of defense that we run, it's somewhat susceptible to the mobile quarterback. So
yeah, our corners are playing that man. They're focused on sticking with their guy, so they're not looking in the backfield. And so if he takes off, it can be a problem. And then top 852 over there on Twitch chiming in, the GOAT, of course. The man, the legend. There was a lot of talk about the commentators this weekend, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
I know Tony Romo was catching flack for telling fans that it was over in the third quarter. And but a lot of these games weren't close. So, you know.
Troy Aikman was like, it makes this like 14-win season for nothing. I know some Minnesota fans were giving him flack about that too. Though, as a side note, I do like Troy Aikman's I don't give an F, and I'm just going to say what I think. I think it's hilarious.
He was in full display in this game, Jeffrey. He the amount of times he mentioned how Sam Darnold cost himself money over the last 2 weeks was just crazy.
Just out there for millions of people they're watching, and Troy Aikman's just dunking on you while you're just literally seeing ghosts out there.
The memes for poor Sam Darnold. I mean, they went from having the premature celebration 2 weeks ago, where his teammates were holding him on their shoulders, everyone was feeling it, and now just 2 weeks later, Jeffrey, it's all gone to hell.
Yeah, it's in 2 weeks too. I mean, like the loss to the Lions like that was surprising to say the least, but I think it was pretty deflating for them apparently, right? Because this game they did not look competitive for quite a bit of it.
Yeah, I haven't seen what the final stat is, and I didn't go back and check, but I know at one point during the season, Jeffrey, we talked about the hangover effect from losing to the Lions, how I believe at that point when every team that we had beaten had lost the following week.
Yeah,
and so
flu.
It's just it's unfortunate here. And the bad thing is, not only did the offense struggle, but their defense also did not look good in this game, Jeffrey.
Yeah, just all around. And I think on the defensive side, I mean, you have to at some point you have to rely on the offense, and I feel like with what they were the whole offensive game plan, I think a lot of this falls on Kevin O'Connell too, as far as like even towards like the middle of the game when it wasn't quite all the way gone yet. Like it almost looked like there was like no urgency out there. It was very apparent at the end of the game, like they were not like they lost the juice or something. And then from a play calling standpoint, I mean, I know you want to get the run going, but like you're setting Aaron Jones just like up the middle into the ass of your line over and over again is not going to get the run going. Like he had all these long developing plays. Sam Darnold got sacked 9 times. He already holds on to the ball quite a bit to make bigger plays, but that's going to lead to some issues if it's not working. So there was just like little to no adjustment on their end.
Yeah, it was surprising. And I don't necessarily, I'm not someone who like gets upset when rivals are getting like, when they're getting attention. Like everyone has been talking about Kevin O'Connell being a coach of the year candidate. And like, well, I definitely, if it was up to me and I was voting, Dan Campbell would have my vote. I haven't begrudged the attention that's been going to Kevin O'Connell. But I think after this game, if he does win coach of the year, he needs to hand that award back and just say respectfully, I'm going to have to pass on this one because he was definitely outcoached by Sean McVay in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And they employed very similar tactics to what we did, like getting pressure almost every drop back is a pressure, doing delayed blitzing. At one point, they inverted what their coverage was, and that's when Sam Darnold started seeing. I don't know if you saw a couple shots of him and his eyes wide open. like they were whatever the reverse of exercising is with ghosts. Whatever you do with ghosts, they were doing that to Sam Darnold. They were introducing the ghosts into the house.
Instead of ghost busting, they were pumping them in.
Yeah. But and although Troy Aikman was dunking on about losing money, I mean he's right. He's not quite sure what they're going to do as far as making an offer at him or moving on and going with McCarthy or something like that. But he's not going to be able to command as big of a salary as he did eight days ago.
Do you think it actually helps his chance of returning to the Vikings now? Because they still need probably some time for McCarthy, JJ McCarthy, to get ready to take over the starting role. And they had identified Darnold as being their bridge quarterback. They do have Danny Dimes on the roster now too, so maybe Danny Dimes takes over as the bridge QB. But do you think maybe the fact that maybe that demand for Sam Darnold is going to be diminished now after these last 2 weeks?
I think for sure now you don't have to pay, because I think if he would have had a deep run or looked great and lost in this game, you would have to offer him much more money right now. Other teams, I mean, there are desperate teams out there. You've got Jerry Jones out there, right? That man's crazy.
We won't know. It will be like week 2 of the regular season by the time Jerry Jones offers Sam Darnold a contract. So he's on his own schedule, baby.
He is, man. Could he be the worst GM in the league right now? I know we just lost a suite of bad GMs, but currently, is he the worst GM that's standing?
I think there's a case to be made about that. To be made.
Because he screwed himself out of the interview window. He denied McCarthy the Bears interview job only to not sign him later.
Yep. And now he's going to meet with the Bears anyway.
Right. So
that's a dick move right there on his part. If you say no, you can't interview him, and by the way, we're going to also let you go. So have fun.
Right.
Ass.
He did that to Cooper Rush too, man. Those incentives.
It's rough. And then Top 852 here on Twitch chiming in for Sam Darnold, of course. To be fair, he did likely up his value over the season overall.
Oh, yeah.
Agreed. I think he definitely – I think people are still looking upon Sam Darnold favorably. I do think now the last 2 weeks have certainly raised questions about his ability to perform at the biggest stage. And I think he can still be a very good quarterback with a good team around him. But if you need him to be that X factor, to channel those Madden terms guy, I don't know if Sam Darnold's going to be, you're going to need other people to on the team to step up. You would need Justin Jefferson to say, hey, just toss it anywhere near me and I'm going to take it to the house for 6 every time for that to happen. But shout out to Jalen Naylor here too. We talked about Reed earlier with the Packers. MSU wide receivers showing up and showing out, Jeffrey.
Yeah. They had a bunch of plays for him deep too, and they were trying to get it to him, especially at the end there. But so I think it all looks good going forward for Minnesota, right? I mean, although obviously disappointing end, they have options now. They clearly have the team around him, right? So either getting JJ McCarthy up to speed or re-signing Sam Darnold for now this 8-day discount kind of thing. So it's not all bad, but it's definitely very disappointing after winning 14 games and kind of going out like a fart in the night kind of thing. So.
Yeah, they are now the team with the most victories ever to lose a wild card game. That is now the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, man, that could have been us. It could have been us. That's how close it was, man. Can you imagine if the Vikings with 1 game of rest after playing us? They might have looked a whole lot different.
We need I'm glad we're not in that timeline. I'm enjoying the timeline.
No, screw that. I'd rather never know.
Best not to dwell on it. And then for the Rams, Jeffrey, do you think this is their playoff win for the season, or do you think there's a chance they get cheeky? I mean, this was a home game for them, but obviously with everything going on with the fires in LA, they were forced to play this game in Arizona. So it was a home game, but do you think they can go on the road to Philadelphia and get a victory, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I think they definitely have a chance. Matthew Stafford is still good. Sean McVay can scheme himself up a game, right? I think they're able to be competitive. Even in their 7 losses this year, they were competitive for the most part. So, I think if anybody's going to exploit the weaknesses of the Eagles, it would be this team and coaching staff, right? And I still think Matthew Stafford has magic in him. So I definitely think it's possible. It's going to be difficult, though, right? You're at
Yep, yep.
Philadelphia. Philadelphia's defense is way spicier than I think Minnesota's defense is. Not that I'm saying Minnesota's defense is bad or anything like that, but
They hadn't been on the season, but they did let down a little bit here.
yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think there's a shot. I wonder what the line is. I've not checked the line since they released the schedule on all like the favorites and the underdog. But
yeah, I'm not sure either. But they are playing. They are the early game on Sunday. The Rams taking on Philadelphia. That game being brought to you on NBC, Peacock, Telemundo, and Universo. And then
6-point game, 6 points favorite for the Eagles.
Damn. And then Top 852 with one last shovelful of dirt to toss on the Vikings here. They also reclaimed the title of most playoff losses from the Cowboys.
Ooh.
So the hits, they keep on coming.
For pain rankings of a fan base, the Vikings could be up there with the amount of pain that they have experienced in their time as an organization.
They're not a bad pick, Jeffrey. That's for certain. That is for certain. All right, Jeffrey. Well, when it comes to the hot butts, we thought we were done, Jeffrey. We thought everything had been settled and over with. And as we've sort of alluded to a couple times already during this episode, of course, there has been one more firing. Mike McCarthy let go by Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys. So
yeah, after indicating that it might not happen, stopping him from interviewing places. It's like, okay, looks like they're going to keep going. He offloads him. So, I don't know honestly what it means, because Jerry Jones could literally do anything at this point. I know he's been talking to Deion Sanders, and that's kind of been the big splashy headline. I did hear that Bill Belichick would have been interested had he known about that. Had he known that was possibly a job opening there, but I don't know.
Now, do you think he actually was, or do you think he is doing the ultimate mind game and just being like, well, if I knew that you were looking for a head coach, I might have considered it, but now you can just F off?
Yeah, he could be doing that because he's got a pretty sweet deal with his setup. I don't know if you saw some of the terms of his contract in there, but basically, man, he's setting up like a hedge fund for his kids. Matt Patricia gets a new job again in the new year, our Lord 2025, the year of our Lord. He's still employed. Like, man.
Life just finds a way when it's Matt Patricia. It just finds a way. All right, Jeffrey. To wrap up today's episode, why don't we do our champs and chumps from the wild card weekend, Jeffrey? I'm going to start with my champ in this one, Jeffrey. And as mentioned, of course, one of the big stories going on outside of the NFL currently is those fires in LA. So I think a big shout out needs to go to, for my champ of the week, needs to go to Michael Bidwell and the Arizona Cardinals organization. They, without hesitation, opened up their stadium, their facilities, and really their hearts and everything like that to a division rival in the Rams, and really went out of their way to help make them feel welcome. They sent both of their team planes to help get over 400 people from the Rams organization, including family members and pets and all of that, getting them to Arizona for the game.
I heard there were 2 cats transported in all this.
Yeah, 2 cats. Yep, heard that during the broadcast. And I think, it's unfortunate that it takes moments, disasters and catastrophes like this to bring out the best in humanity, but it still doesn't stop me from acknowledging it when it does happen. So kudos to Michael Bidwell and the Arizona Cardinals. I think, again, they did a great job stepping up. And then also to all of the first responders and firefighters and everyone out there that's out there trying to battle these freaking fire hurricanes. That is honestly nightmare fuel. I don't know if you've seen any of the videos of like the I don't know why they decided to stay, but then they had that video of them being in their house with just fire all around them. Just it's stuff out of like a Hollywood movie. It's hard to believe it's real life. Yeah, it's crazy. So
or Mustafar about to have a lightsaber battle break out here.
Yeah, for everybody that's out there dealing with all of that, you're definitely putting your lives on the line to help everybody out there. Those are my champs, Jeffrey. The people out there
That's
trying
good.
to make the
I like
best
that.
out of a terrible situation.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. I think that's a great choice. Mine, I am actually split between almost four options, but really between two teams here.
Mhm.
As far as champs, I really kind of want to give it to Sean McVay, or Matthew Stafford was my other one, but I think I'm going to have to give it to Sean McVay as far as what he is able to do with this team at that particular juncture in this season, right? Do you sell at the trade deadline? Do you think for next year? And they figured it out to not only winning their division, but getting a playoff win here and going into that divisional round. And I think, they were left for dead in the middle of the season, and, them kind of storming back here is it's pretty incredible. So getting that win there. My other option would have been just Jaden McDaniels and Dan Quinn. Just him being a rookie and getting it this far and getting that playoff win, right? That's pretty incredible to me. That is, especially with Dan Quinn. This is his second stint as head coach. He was with the Falcons. Got to a Super Bowl, but unfortunately, that was the 28-3 Super Bowl, which is what people mostly remember the Falcons great years from. But I don't know, it's just good on them, right? They got there. He did it with a young quarterback here, so I'm really split between them. But I had to give it to Sean McVay with just what he was able to do in that division to get it done and to knock off a team of 14 wins here.
I like both of those picks. The Commanders were actually going to be my secondary champ there, because I do, coming from the ownership group that they left, obviously, they had the name change as well. I think they've been exercising a lot of demons there in Washington. They're definitely one of the most storied franchises in NFL history, and to see them get back and get a playoff win with this new organization, and turning things around in the course of a year is also makes it super impressive. So I like both of those mentions. And then as you said with Sean McVay, I think the only coach arguably who did a better job this season overcoming injuries is Dan Campbell in the Lions organization.
Yeah.
But Sean McVay definitely also putting in a master class there of getting things figured out and winning with the players you have available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like
absolutely.
That. All right, Jeffrey, who do you have as your chump?
My chump of the week, I got to give it to Deontay Johnson. We talked a little bit about him earlier, but he's been on 4 teams this year alone. He just got released by the Texans, and the Texans are hurting at wide receiver, and they still released him because this guy is such a pain in the ass. Complaining about targets when you're like the new guy on the team, not a good look. Just complaining about targets in general when you are dropping balls left and right, kind of thing. It's just not a good look, and it makes me just in awe of what Mike Tomlin does with people. He must have a way with words. He must do something, because these people. Although I don't know with George Pickens. He's still out there just swinging at random people. So I don't know if he's necessarily containing that bit of it.
Think about what it could be like if he wasn't with Mike Tomlin. That's
true.
We have to see him on another team to see just to experience what it could be like. Because like Antonio Brown, when he was with the Steelers, was, he could get a little edgy, but he was pretty tame overall. And mind you, I think there's certainly a case that, unfortunately, was it CTE, certainly has impacted his personality and things like that. But he definitely was a lot more of an issue outside of the Steelers organization than he ever was when he was dressing in the black and gold. So, yeah.
He had a pretty wild list of things that he did afterwards. So yeah, who knows where George Pickens would be? But yeah, with Deontay Johnson, if 4 different organizations can do this, he went to the Ravens too, man. He went to some solid groups here and was not able.
He was on 2 playoff teams this season, and
how do you
still couldn't figure it out.
How do you not shut your mouth and get your ring or something? Come on now. So my chump of the week just seems like a loser to me, and one of the few down spots of the football weekend.
Absolutely. And then, we've talked about it quite a bit, but I'm not afraid of all his money. Jerry Jones is my chump of the week. How you can refuse to let Mike McCarthy go interview. And maybe there may be some conversations behind the scenes. I don't know. Maybe Mike McCarthy said it was okay to turn down the interview request. I don't know. But that to me is the worst part of the equation. Like the fact, like it's everything else hurts him and his team. But the fact that you're going to hurt Mike McCarthy and his livelihood, his potential to go have another head coaching job. Now, mind you, I don't think he's likely to get the Bears job. I don't think he would have been the number one candidate anyways. But they wanted to interview him, and you're sort of deciding that, hey, no, I'm not sure what I'm doing with my toy yet, but you can't play with it. That is, I mean, it's just, Gary Jones. To your point, Jeffrey, I think the worst GM in football, and he's definitely up there with one of the worst owners. I will say, at least he's one of the worst owners in terms of like results, but like he does care in his weird Jerry Jones sort of way, and at least he takes care of fans and stuff like that. So he's not like the absolute worst owner, but in terms of like owners that sabotage themselves and their teams, he's up there.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
up there.
Yeah, and I think Mike McCarthy is a decent coach. I mean, he's won everywhere he's gone, right? Didn't make it to, obviously he was brought in to win a Super Bowl here with the Cowboys, didn't pan out. So I think, he'll definitely land on his feet. I don't know if he'll be people's first choices, but I mean, I guess that's not really the option now because he had to wait this long anyway. I think he just deserves better treatment than that.
Yeah, I wonder if he is, I mean, obviously we know he's interviewing for the Bears head coaching position, but I wonder if he tries to take it and try and be more of a coordinator moving forward, or if maybe he calls it a career, say, hey, I won a Super Bowl. I've made my money. I'm good. Cause I'm sure he's been, not sure exactly how much career earnings he has, but he's got to have a decent bag. So, I mean, maybe he calls it quits, or
he currently has my dream job, a fired NFL head football coach. I went in, it didn't matter how well I did, and now I have guaranteed millions of dollars.
I mean, I have a pretty low bar. If I could have any job, like a normal job that's still going to pay me just to sit home, and like that's what they're just paying me and I'm fired, that's fine. Like the fact that it's millions of dollars to be fired and at home, dang.
Yeah, that's
tough pill to swallow.
It's nuts.
Crazy. All right, everybody. Well, we want to thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Lions Grid. Whether you're watching us on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube, we definitely appreciate the support. And just a quick update, we're trying to move towards 100 subscribers on YouTube. We're currently sitting at 78. So, of course, we'll keep the episodes running throughout the playoffs. Hopefully, we'll be doing it while talking about the Lions' victories and their upcoming matchups. But even should they, for whatever reason, be knocked out of the playoffs, we'll keep things going. The episodes at that point may be a little bit shorter than traditionally because, obviously we have most to say about the Lions, but we appreciate your support. And if you do want to help us hit that 100 mark before the end of the season, again, just head over to YouTube and at the Lions Grid, give us that subscribe. And if you want, you can go ahead and ring the bell and you'll be alerted anytime we go live for one of these episodes.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us and being active in the chat. Except that, I didn't see your dad here. He was high talking the Vikings, say that they're going to beat us by like 10, 12 points there.
You are absolutely correct. I will say that in December, he was on PTO for most of December because he had a surplus. And now that we're back to the new year, he's back to those working hours. So he's, the Tuesday night show is a little bit harder for him depending on if he's working, what sort of service hours they got him working. But we'll see. You're right. He has been suspiciously quiet in the chat, and I sort of need him to continue to have those outlandish those picks to keep the fires burning for this team.
Yes, I still have not played Madden. I've gotten the itch. I had some free time the other day. I was like, "Ooh, I could play that." Nope, I'm not doing it. doing it. Too superstitious. We'll do it after the season. Unless we win the Super Bowl, then I'll never play Madden again, probably. It's just
you'll have to at that point, because then I can only say we'll just continue to win the Super Bowl.
I'm willing to make that sacrifice for everybody.
We appreciate you taking the ultimate sacrifice for us there, Jeffrey. If it gets us the results.
Hey, I'm a people person. What can I say?
All right, everyone. Well, we will catch you again. The Lions are playing on Saturday. Both number 1 seeds playing this Saturday, Jeffrey. The first game is the Texans and the Chiefs, and that game is at 4:30. So we may look to do a early morning episode there to kick things off for the divisional weekend. But until then, I'm Kevin Marhani. He's Jeffrey Raymond. We'll catch you during the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.